Dominique Side, thank you so much for joining us on the Plant Trainers podcast today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. And for anybody watching on YouTube, I love the yellow that you're wearing today. It's very sunshine and very nice for this fall day.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm actually in Paris right now.
Oh,
And yeah, so it's
very chic.
yes, exactly.
So besides being in Paris, or maybe that is your moment of gratitude, what do you have to share with us and the listeners for a moment of gratitude today?
My moment of gratitude would be that I have an amazing team of people that are my support system in my village that help me to be able to do the things that I am so passionate about doing.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
You know, they say it takes a village to raise a kid, but we have so many babies these days, so many passions, and you can't raise a dog alone. You can't raise a business alone. You need people by your side, good people.
Exactly. I wouldn't be able to do anything without my team and my family. So I really appreciate them every day for making it possible for me to live out my dreams.
Beautiful. I hope everybody takes a little breath and they could be grateful for their family and friends that they have as well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you found the plant-based / vegan lifestyle and what it did for you?
Sure. So I originally was not intending to go vegan. That wasn't my goal. I found myself in a space where I was working out and trying to prioritize my health, and someone has approached me about a plant-based shake, protein shake for like post-workout. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Better for my digestive system. Why not? So I was like, I'll use that. That's great. And then maybe a few months later, she's like, oh, there's a natural makeup line and it's vegan. And I was like, what's not natural about makeup? I almost hated that I asked in that moment, because I looked it up and I was like, oh. So that was my first introduction to things not being cruelty-free, and also the ingredients that companies may use to, make you beautiful. And then I changed my cleaning products in my home because I figured less chemicals, that's great for my kids, right? But I still had no intention of changing my food, because steak was my favorite food, and give up eggs, why? But I watched a documentary, What the Health, and immediately, like that, as soon as it was over, I said, well, I guess I'm done. And I tried to go out and have dinner and eat something, specifically buffalo fried shrimp. And I was like, I'm going to enjoy this one last time. And I couldn't finish it. And then the next day I was like, seafood can't be that bad. And I tried to do the same thing again and eat some other shrimp dish. And I ate 2 pieces and I was like, never mind. I guess I'm really doing this. I couldn't unknow all the things. And that was 5 years ago, 5 years and a few months. And been on this train ever since.
Has it been difficult for you?
No. And I say that very quickly and confidently because I am very much tied to my why. I feel like this lifestyle is a personal conviction. And as long as I don't lose sight of my why, I'm very centered and grounded in it. Challenging sometimes, yes, because of the lack of convenience that it presents, because it is my entire lifestyle. So not just my food, but clothes, furniture, activities, all the things. So it really was a lifestyle change. And even just 5.5 years ago, things weren't available that are available now. So even in the last 2 years, there's so much new innovation, which is amazing, and more awareness that I'm really grateful for. But yeah, challenging, not difficult. I never wavered.
Yeah, there's a lot more options these days than there definitely was 5 years ago, even more than there was 12 years ago when we started. Yeah, like it's unreal though. And it's not just in the food, it's in the clothes, it's in the products, it's everywhere now. So it does make things a little bit easier for a lot of people if they have their why to fall back on,
And I
which is
think
super important.
a lot of people have seen What the Health, or they have seen Cowspiracy, or they've seen Forks Over Knives. So I think although you will get a lot of pushback still from particular people, the acceptance of it is
Yes.
so much easier now too, which makes you going through your daily life that much easier as well. Did anything change for you on like a health point of view or anything like that when you changed, or did it kind of just stay
Sure.
status quo?
I wasn't really in tune with what my health was on paper prior to becoming vegan. So I didn't have a point of reference to go back to outside of how I felt, like physically. And so I noticed, that I lost weight. And some of that I attributed to not really knowing what to eat at first. But once I established, I was more knowledgeable and knew where things were and knew what to cook and how to make it, enjoyable for me, I realized that I leveled off at a space that was probably 15 pounds less than what my baseline was previously. And I attribute that mostly to dairy, like just, the inflammation and the mucus and all those things that are in your system that, go away once you eliminate that from your diet. Outside of that, I told my doctor, and 2 of my 4 kids are vegan as well. And she said, she's a holistic practitioner, and she was like, okay, that's wonderful. Let's do some blood work once you've been doing this for 6 months and see where you're at, and if you need any supplements or anything like that. I was like, cool. And she told me which ones were common amongst people who become vegan. And I read all the things and I heard all the things. And the funny thing to me was when I got my blood work back, the only deficiency I had was vitamin K, which means I wasn't eating leafy greens. And
Yeah. You don't just eat lettuce. That's not all you eat.
Right. She was like, you're vegan, but you're not eating enough leafy greens. And I was like, I'm eating a lot of French fries. but everything else was fine. I didn't need D, I didn't need B, I didn't need anything. Honestly, I was like leveled off at most everything, and it stayed that way. I checked again in another 6 months just to see. And she's like, no, you're fine. Your numbers look great. And so I was like, hey, I guess I'm special. I don't know.
I'm special, and I just need to eat a few more greens.
Just a few more greens, so throw in a salad every now and then, I'm good.
You mentioned that 2 of your 4 kids are vegan, and we have a lot of families that listen and go through the whole process of, should I be raising vegan kids? Is that a problem? Like, when do they are old enough to make their own decisions? How did you deal with all those kind of questions?
So my kids at the time were, the youngest was 11 or about to turn 11. And it was up to them, my then partner told everyone, the kids at once, like after I'd been vegan for like a week, he said, okay, mom went vegan, let's support her, let's try it too. Well, my youngest kid was like, okay, I can try this. And eventually he went a little more like pescatarian for a little while. And then it was like a natural transition for him. He gave up seafood once he decided to ask me where scallops came from. And then he was vegetarian for a while. He went away to camp in the Poconos for like a month and came back vegan. So I don't know what happened there, but I didn't have any questions. So I was like, oh, great. The next one, who's now 18, he grew up with food allergies, peanut and half things under the sun, really. And so he was used to reading labels, and he kind of ate meat because he thought that's what you're supposed to do to, be healthy-ish, like have this balanced plate, and that it had to include that. So once he tried eliminating all of the animal products, he never turned back. He was like, this is cool. I'm fine with it. This works for me. So he went vegan almost immediately. And I say that he considers himself plant-based because he still will do honey, and he doesn't really like labels. And so I respect that. The older two, who are now 20 and 22 years old, at the time they were mid-level teenagers, and they were not trying to jump on that train at all. The oldest one, every now and then, she entertains a more plant-heavy diet. She's an athlete, and she realized how helpful it was to her for recovery, but it's not something she sticks with. I think she's in the pescatarian lane these days. The 20-year-old I think he would die and come back a hamburger. I don't know.
That's funny.
So, thank you for sharing. It's always interesting to see how different families handle different situations when transitioning. Sure. It's cool.
Yeah. And if they went through and they supported you for that week or so, and we have to respect their decisions at that age so that they can respect ours. And you end up making a bigger impact than they let on, and you never know when it comes back to give you that indication that has happened. So that'll be interesting to see what happens down the road. So I want to shift gears for a little bit, because I know that you're the high-end designer girl. Were you the high-end designer girl before going plant-based vegan as well? Or is that something that's come up for you just in the last few years?
So I loved high-end designers before, but I never really had a reason to buy pieces in that space, because I really wasn't going many places. I was working from home in a remote business that, it just didn't require, I officed from my kids' school. I was very much leggings and t-shirts every day, sneakers, and I still am like that half the week. But maybe 2-3 years ago, I got back into music and entertainment. So being in that industry, it thrust me back out into the world in front of cameras all the time. And I was like, okay, so fashion, let's get back to this. And I was excited about it because it was an opportunity for me to use my platform to educate people, because I know, even myself, when I became vegan, I knew that the assumption was, if it's vegan, it's definitely boring. It's granola, the clothes, shoes, whatever options, they're ugly, all of that, all of the above.
I literally have in my notes here, let's talk about being vegan and not having to be granola, clunky, uncomfortable shoes, and outdated fashion. That's literally my notes.
Oh my gosh. I was honestly the first pair of vegan sneakers I bought. I was like, and I was looking for shoes, and I'm like, I don't know about this. And then I found out that Adidas was the most sustainable, mass, as far as widespread, widely accessible and available brand when it came to that. And then when I saw that they did a collaboration with Stella McCartney, who is a designer and a high-end label, and I was like, oh, and that's how I discovered her. And she's vegetarian, the line is a vegetarian, so it was easier for me to choose vegan-friendly pieces from her collection because it was mostly, vegan. And so I just avoid the silks and wools. She doesn't do leather. And that felt like a good place to start with designers, but I didn't want my whole closet to be Stella. I love her. That's actually why I'm in Paris. I was here for her show and activities that her team curated for us. So it's been an amazing experience, but she can't be the only designer in my closet. So I spend a lot of time actually curating looks online, mostly just researching materials and looking at different designers' collections and picking out pieces that are vegan friendly within designer collections. So,
are there any designers out there that are doing it by accident, or is everybody being intentional about it now? Because I know Billie Eilish has a lot of influence in that area and things like that. So what's happening out there in that world?
There are some initiatives that I think are amazing, some slower to progress than others. And I would say Gucci has made a significant investment in leather alternatives. They made they call it Demetra, and it's made from wood pulp. And they released a few different lines in their sneakers in this material. And the people who shop Gucci don't know, don't care. It doesn't matter to them. But then it's the other people like me who actually do care. They're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. They have this campaign that they're working on right now where they released this nylon line of bags, but it still has a leather trim. So it's not for me, but they're also looking to use the Demetra in some kind of bag collection, which I think would be amazing. So there are some lines that are making intentional, progress in that space. And then there are others that are not so much. And I try to avoid them in general. But like Balenciaga, most of their sneakers are vegan friendly, and people don't know that because it's just not something that they, think about. But it's amazing to me because I'm like, I can just go and grab a few pair of sneakers and I'm fashionable and I'm, I don't stand out for the wrong reasons in the space that I'm in. But people are like, wait, but you're vegan. And I'm like, yes. And so is everything I have on. I'm like, wow. So, it's really cool.
No, that's a lot of fun. I know that I've never really been a designer person before, but as one of my businesses grew, I wanted to congratulate myself and say, hey, I can go out there and I can buy whatever it is that I want. And I had a really nice wallet that I loved from when we lived in Hong Kong, and it was time to get rid of that wallet. So I put in my birthday order, and Adam got me, he surprised me with a Stella McCartney wallet. And then I looked at my purse and I'm like, oh, well, even this, like, I can't put it in this $40 falling apart fake leather purse from like whatever store it was. So I ordered a vegan leather purse, and it was definitely better than the other one, but it didn't quite feel right. And I'm like, you know what? I hit another milestone, and I'm like, I can have what is it called? The Falabella?
Yes.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yes.
And I got that one too. And it's not something that I try to do very often, but sometimes you just need a piece to be an adult, or, to feel good, even if you're getting it on Poshmark, right? Like you just need to feel, which I even feel better about. That's where the purse came from. But, but it,
no, I love
I'm
that.
validating that I didn't spend the $1,500.
Yes, but no,
completely,
it's totally valid because one of the things that I teach people when they're in this space, if they're wanting to still have things that are leather because they don't necessarily mind wearing the leather, they just don't want to create new demand.
Right.
Then I tell them go to the resale sites because there are wonderful like new items that are there. Then they can have the same designer bags and all of these things. They're just not creating new demand. Right. And everything about secondhand is more sustainable. So if you don't mind, shop luxury, on ThredUp or whatever, Poshmark, all those places, like do it there because you're helping to extend the life of these pieces that you may not have otherwise, invested in, and they're investments, so those are lifelong purchases,
they
better be.
They're definitely lifelong purchases. But even if you are going new, to have those opportunities now, to not have to have, just this ugly purse that you bought only because it was fake leather kind of thing. So it's really, really nice to have those options and to be able to support stores, whether they are high end or mid end or what have you, that are putting in that effort to have those options for people so that we can still be stylish. And if we want to look tree hugging one day, we could look tree hugging one day. But if we want to look posh, we can definitely look chic as well. Yeah,
I think my first bag purchase was mid-range, so Angela Roy, and very popular in the vegan space, and makes amazing bags that hold up really, really well. It honestly, I got this deep wine colored bag and wallet, and I still use the card holder as just a single piece by itself. Like I just walk around with the card holder because it zips and so it's secure. But it reminded me of my first adult handbag purchase that was a Coach set when I got my first like corporate job, and and I was like, I can afford this investment. It was like a new leaf, like, okay, so now I'm in this space and I need to make this investment, and it felt really rewarding.
So a lot of our listeners might not be in that space of buying these high-end kind of products, but I think what's really important for people to take away, if it's not for them, or even if it is how many people do you know who are? And how can we influence them to, hey, why don't you try one of these pieces instead? Or why don't you try to support one of these companies instead? And it's not only necessarily what we're buying and spending our money on, but what we can help our friends and family make purchases that are at their level and their style, that are supporting it, because we need to really vote with our dollars for it to still be around. Absolutely. Yes. And that's huge for me. I mean, it's sort of like my mission, as far as, everybody, I think everybody who feels very strongly about veganism or plant-based lifestyle and the benefits across the board, whether it be your health or the planet or animals, because I speak about it from a compassion mindset. So I have compassion for other beings, I have compassion for the planet, and I have compassion for myself. But there are different people at different levels. And when we were in the pandemic, I saw that there were vegans making, courses and doing these things at a budget level, like, oh, you can be vegan on a budget, and here's how you do that. And there were plenty of people in that space. And then there was like the mid-range space. And I thought about it, and I'm like, well, what about the people with resources? I feel like I'm relatable because I'm in the entertainment space and I'm wearing this fashion and I'm doing these things. What about them? Do they know that they can be vegan and still like live this luxury lifestyle, that they can still travel and, do activities that feel familiar to them, maintain their lifestyle? And I really think because most people are of the mind that you have to give up, you have to sacrifice so much, but I don't operate from a space of deprivation. My life is very full. And whether that's relationship or things, or just being able to live out my passion, I feel like I can share with people who do have the resources to put behind the causes that will further innovation, and we can all work toward this goal together, that matters. And so most people are like, why are you focusing on the rich? They can afford to be vegan anyway, but they don't have time to do the research that I do. So, I'm like a concierge, like, oh, you can do all those things and that's wonderful. Let me show you how to do it in a compassionate way. I love that. And it's true. We don't always have to be on a budget. Not everybody is on a budget.
And so are you coming out with your own line, or what's the plan?
Yes. So I have a few things going on. That was one of them, though. I decided that I would develop my own luxury vegan clothing line, because really Stella is the only option, and that's vegetarian. And while, she is amazingly caring when it comes to supply chain and the sheep that are used for the wool and all of those things, it's still not in complete alignment with me and my values. So I'm like, okay, I want something that I don't have to question. I can just walk in, or I can just look at a collection and say, I can have any piece I want, so I can just pick what I like and not worry about reading the label or wondering where something came from. And so that's why I decided to go ahead and design my own luxury vegan line. So do you want to tell us what it's called? It's called Nikki Green. And we are actually launching on Monday, October 10th. So nice. I know that's like coming up soon, and I'm super excited. This is when we'll be previewing for wholesale buyers and different press and editors and things like that, so we can bring it to the masses. That's amazing. So we're recording October 4th for a November 1st release date. So that means that people can get out there and start to take a look at what's really happening. It'll be available. Yeah. They could check out the link in our show notes. Where would you like people to go if they want to remember where to go? So shopnickygreen.com. that would be the website. And so by the time, this goes live, they'll be able to see all the looks from the first collection. So one of our big things for me, which may seem small to other people who aren't vegan, is belts
Mhm.
and scarves. So, finding a beautiful scarf that's not silk, finding a really nice belt option that's not leather. Those are very difficult things, especially high end. So those are huge for me. And women's wear in general, obviously, we're gonna launch with about 24 pieces. So it's not a huge collection, but I think there's something there for, I feel like, everyone. So.
Well, we wish you tons and tons of success. People need to vote with their dollars for sure. And that's super exciting. And we want to thank you so much for your time today, for giving people ideas on, where they can go for more luxury brands, and also how to influence their friends and where to tell their friends to go. And yeah, just what, it's funny because when I was in the Stella store, I'd never been in a Stella store before, and I was in Vegas a couple of months ago. She told me it was vegan, the girl that worked there. I didn't know that there was wool and things like that were used. So I think that's important for people to know, and the kinds of questions that we should ask when we are.
And I really appreciate Stella because she's been on the forefront in this area for like 20 years, and she's always working on innovation. Silk alternatives, I think, is one of the next things that they've, and this takes a while. It does. Especially if you want it to feel like silk. If you really want a true replacement, then it just takes a while to make it happen. So I appreciate that she's, carving out this path for, others that come behind her. But yes, the brand is vegetarian.
I'm very excited to see what you come up with, and check out that launch October 10th. Yes. Dominique, thanks for being here on the Plant Trainers podcast. Wishing you the best of luck, and all those links will be in our show notes at planttrainers.com.
Thank you so much for having me.